What's cracking, everybody? New video. Welcome back to the channel. So today is going to be a video about the crime that got me sent to prison, the murder that I picked up. And I want you guys to know that today is exactly 30 years from then. I was 19 years old, fresh out of YA. I'm 49 years old. And when I think about how it's been 30 years since I caught that case, since I made that horrible decision that night, 30 years is actually 1 year longer than my victim was able to be on earth. I want to go into a few things because lately I've been hearing in the comment section that, people are asking me, do I think killing people is cool? Somebody in the comments, actually a couple people in the comments have said that I killed a civilian. I shot a civilian in the back. And then there's been people that in the comments that have told stories of how the case occurred, right? But it's funny because how would they know when they weren't there? So the first thing, the most important thing is this. Killing isn't cool, period. So if I've given that impression by things that I've said, it was never my intention. But like I've said many, many, many times, whatever your intent, when you say something, it doesn't matter. People's individual perception is what matters to them. I've gone over the details of my case before. You guys can see the video I did where I actually walked through where it happened, where we were, and then where it ended up. And I made it clear. These people admitted to the cops that they came to my neighborhood to put in work. So, there was nobody there that night that was innocent. And if you go back to the video, you'll see where I gave them an opportunity to leave. I explained, remember, we were celebrating a baptism. That's what we were doing. Celebrating a baptism. And I explained that to them. I told them where to go in the neighborhood. You guys really want beef with somebody, go over here. Go to this spot. There's probably 100 dudes over there waiting right now for anybody to come through. Everybody was tipsy. Everybody was under the influence, both groups. And it is true, man. My ego made me chase the dude down. After they decided, they pulled out weapons first and we ended it. But I did have the opportunity to let him get away, and I chose not to. Remember this. The person I was back then, anybody that was gangbanging back then, that was really with the shit back then, they weren't going to let you get away. It wasn't a game back then. If you thought it was a game, then you shouldn't even be playing it, right? I didn't think it was a game. And during trial, it was a police officer or a fireman, I don't remember which one they said, when they picked my victim up, he had a weapon underneath him. Again, there was no innocence that day, man. Now, for whoever that was in the comment section that said that I killed a civilian, let me tell you something. My victim was from my neighborhood. There used to be a crew in the 80s, in the early 80s. It was a little crew of dudes, and they were all friends, and they wanted to start their own clique on the West Side, right? And they started a clique of their own called the West Side Boys. My victim claimed West Side Boys. He was part of the West Side Boys. He hung around with my older cousin that's from my neighborhood. They were friends. See, this thing wasn't about gangbanging. This murder was an unfortunate thing where somebody in their family got jumped the night before. The family and friends said, you know what, we're not going to put up with that shit. Let's go over there and let's go put in some work on whoever we find. Unfortunately, they found me. I'm never going to be proud of what I did. I've said that in a bunch of videos, eh? He had an infant son. I think his son was 6 months old or something around there when I took his life. His son, I hope there's video. You know, people used to have the hand cameras back then. I really hope that the family had some kind of video of my victim smiling and laughing and talking, so that his son, at least that way, knew what his dad's voice and laugh sounded like. I've never, well, I can't say that. That's not true. You know, in the beginning, when I took that man's life, I knew what I was going to do to him. If I could catch him, any of them. I wanted all of them. They ran. And that pissed me off that they ran. It pissed me off because they came 3 times. One of the times they actually yelled out "Arrival Barrio," I guess to throw us off. I don't know why they did that. But you got to understand, there was 14 of us there. There was family there that we were with. We were all 18, 19 years old. There was a 13-year-old and a 15-year-old with us. These dudes were 29, 30, 31 years old. When I saw what they looked like the third time when they came on foot, I was like, man, we're going to beat the dog shit out of these fools. We weren't going to pull any weapons unless they did. I tried to talk them into leaving. One of them, and you know who you are, he decided to reach into his waistband, the back of his pants. He's the one that ran and called the cops. He made it to the shopping center across the street and called the cops. He's the one I was looking for when I ran into that driveway, that little area. He was nowhere to be found. Unfortunately, his friend was. The person I was back then, I didn't give a damn. You make me pull a gun out, I'm using it. Am I that person now? No. Absolutely not. I'm a peaceful man now. I learned from my mistake. Scratch that. I learned from my horrible decision. As a lifer, you learn there's certain words that have certain meanings. A mistake is when you make a choice not knowing what the outcome could be. That's a mistake. When I took the gun from my co-defendant to go chase this dude down, I knew exactly what I wanted to do. I was counting in my head how many shots had already been fired out of this gun. I didn't want to waste a bullet. I wanted to hit everybody. That's who I was, man. I didn't know anything about the ripple effect of crime. I didn't know, you know, I've said this before in an old video and I'll say it again right now. Barrios, I can't speak for any other type of gang, right? But as gang members, when you're Mexican as a gang member, you always pride yourself in the fact that you never target women and children or the elderly, right? But the reality is, whoever your victim is, they have a mom, they have a dad, a grandma, they might have a son or a daughter. And so your indirect victims are women, children, and the elderly. Your direct victim is the one you knocked down or whatever you did to them. I didn't know nothing about that type of shit. I wasn't trying to think that way. Ego, what I talked about the other day. Ego is a motherfucker. I was so insecure back then that I moved by ego only. I had a chip on my shoulder against anybody. And my community paid for it. I deserved what I got. The community didn't deserve what I was doing. Excuse me. So I just wanted to make a video, man, and in remembrance of my victims that day and all of my victims throughout my life. You know, in 2 days, it'll be the 30th anniversary of my incarceration, because I got away for 2 days. I didn't run. I went to work the next day. I didn't care. That's a cold thing. And what's colder is that there are people right now in the streets who have that same type of insecurity, are driven by ego, and are willing to knock somebody down for nothing. I feel for you, man. There's a better way. There's a different way, man, but you got to want it. So with that, I'm going to bring this one to a close. Everybody, please be safe, be smart, and tell the ones you love that you love them. I'm out.